Lots of students worry about their productivity during Ramadan. This fear is not totally irrational. Dutch researchers from the VU University in Amsterdam compared academic outcomes of an economy course between fasting and non-fasting students. The data they collected over several years found that every extra week spent fasting during the course semester caused a decrease in academic outcomes. Interestingly though, if we look at the bulk of the scientific literature, we see that people react very differently with their cognitive and physical performance than others. So how is it possible that people are affected so differently by Ramadan fasting? How Ramadan fasting affects you heavily depends on your personal health and resilience and your environment. Fasting in the desert, for example, where the days are relatively short, is totally different than fasting in Holland, where summer days are very long, but temperatures are much more reasonable. There are different ways in which Ramadan can influence your productivity. We can basically group them up to 5 main factors: nutrition, sleep, social, motivation, and mindset. The most obvious aspect of Ramadan is, of course, the not eating part. Plenty of studies have shown that malnutrition can lower academic performance in children, and it is possible that fasting creates a shortage of calories and fluid, which in turn decreases productivity and cognitive function. Studies done on weight loss, however, show mixed results. In general, most people lose some weight during Ramadan, but we also see groups that actually gain weight. Studies done in lean individuals show lesser weight loss than people that are overweight. If people lose weight, they are obviously in a caloric deficit. However, this caloric deficit is probably not big enough to heavily impact our cognitive performance. Proof for this are studies done in athletes that live in training camps during Ramadan. These athletes can be monitored closely and their nutrition can be controlled. And most studies done in these closely controlled environments showed no weight loss or lower cognitive function. So speaking from a nutritional point of view, if you're not immensely active during the day, you will be probably just fine, but only if you make sure that you get adequate calories and nutrition in. Muslims don't only change their time of eating during Ramadan. Many Muslims change their cuisine during Ramadan, and more than often those special Ramadan dishes aren't the most effective foods to maintain good cognitive and spiritual productivity. Because the internet is packed with information about nutrition, I would just give you this. If you want to keep your grades up, you better leave the baklava and samosa and get some solid, unprocessed foods in. I personally think that the biggest influence on our productivity comes from the disruption of our sleep. Maghrib and Isha are late and Fajr is early. And so during Ramadan, our normal sleep-wake cycle drastically changes. The changes in our lifestyle that we go through during Ramadan are comparable to a jet lag after a long continental flight. Even if you get your 8 hours of sleep, due to the disturbance of your body, your sleep quality drops and thus also your recovery and cognitive function. We can battle this loss of sleep and in quantity and quality by doing the following. The first is relaxation. Our brain is no computer with an on and off switch. Our brain needs to wind down before we go to sleep. Going to sleep with too much brain activity has shown to prolong sleep onset and, more importantly, the amount of deep sleep we get, the most restorative part of our sleep. Notorious brain activators are stress and exposure to electronica. So the following tip is going to be really hard, but Ramadan is all about battling our nafs and our desires. To secure proper sleep, we have to make the following precautions. Probably watching an action-packed Ertugrul episode or having a heated debate on WhatsApp about a fiqh question is probably going to hurt your sleep. Time spent scrolling social media or watching TV increases during Ramadan. Trying to abstain or at least minimize our screen usage at least 1 or ideally 2 hours before we go to sleep is ideal if you want to effectively promote our sleep quality. So this means we're not only going to fast from food, but we're also going to fast from our phones this Ramadan. When you put your phone away and turn off your TV, we need to relax our brain. A great way to unwind our mind is, of course, mindfully performing acts of worship. To make this really practical, we can take Fajr as an example. Before you start your prayer, set your alarm clock on your phone. This way, you don't have to use your phone after the prayer, with the risk that you will see all kinds of attention-seeking notifications on your screen. Do your salah and really try to focus and find closeness to Allah. So we have covered nutrition and sleep. All of these factors are physiological of nature. Whilst I was reading the literature, I also found some non-physiological factors that play a role in Ramadan productivity and performance. A study done in Germany found that athletes that fasted in a team where most of the other players were non-Muslim were affected less than studies done in all Muslim teams. A possible explanation for this was that athletes in a Muslim minority setting felt the need to prove that they could actually perform normally during Ramadan. In another study, they also found that when non-Muslim team members expressed sympathy and positive affirmation to their fasting teammates, team cohesion and performance also increased. So thoughts and beliefs about the social environment can positively motivate fasting individuals to perform better. But it doesn't stop with the external. A very well-designed study measured several objective and subjective performance outcomes. The conclusion of this study was that the blood levels and measurable performance outcomes were not different from the before Ramadan compared to the during Ramadan tests. What did differ greatly was the perceived exertion experienced by the fasting athletes. Most athletes experience the test to be more fatiguing, and they also almost all thought that they had performed worse, even when the performance was just the same. Another study also showed that athletes' beliefs about the impact of Ramadan fasting on their performance was predictive for the actual loss in performance. So thinking something is going to negatively impact you can unconsciously decrease your real-life performance. We have a name for this, and this is called the nocebo effect. It's the less famous counterpart of the placebo effect. The nocebo effect has been researched extensively in other fields, and it is very plausible that if you believe that Ramadan is going to decrease your performance, it is actually going to do so, but not because it's physiological impossible to perform well. So what we have learned is that our beliefs and our environment can affect the way we perform. If we eat well, we are going to probably be fine, and we have to really fast from our phones to optimize our sleep if we want to be productive. Assalamu alaikum.